You've probably heard this advice 1,000 times before. Just be confident. Believe in yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't be nervous. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Confidence isn't a feeling. It's a construction. Most people think confidence is an emotional feeling, that warm, fearless sensation inside your chest. You know that? That's what they think. But that's not what confidence actually is. If you look at the dictionary, you will see confidence defined as a feeling of trust in your own abilities, qualities, and judgment. But people read that and assume that it means feeling fearless. But the word feeling here, it doesn't mean that emotion. It means cognitive state of trust in yourself. And trust is built from evidence, by the way. So to be clear, confidence is not that emotional sensation that you feel. That's not what confidence is. That's adrenaline. That's excitement. That's calm, or that's even fear, as the case may be. Today, I'll show you how to speak with confidence, even if you feel nervous inside. It's not motivation. It's not hype. It's not fake it till you make it. No, that's not what we're talking about. It's real confidence that is built on psychology, built on neuroscience, and of course, my lived experience, your lived experience. Let's begin. Tip number 1, confidence is construction. Confidence is not an emotion. If you ask most people where confidence comes from, they talk about energy, they talk about charisma, they talk about loudness or extroversion or just being full on ground. Confidence doesn't come from personality. Confidence comes from proof. Think of it like building a house. If you wanted to build one, you would have to gather materials first. Bricks, cement, steel, wood, wiring, things that make up a building. You would never expect the house to just pop out without assembling these materials. But when it comes to self-confidence, people expect the structure to just appear, even though they never collected the bricks, so to say. So, confidence feels for those kind of people empty. It's not because they are weak. No, that's not the reason. A confident person isn't someone who feels fearless. No, a confident person is someone who has evidence that they can survive, they can adapt, and they can deliver. These pieces of evidence are your bricks. But here is the problem. Most people never sit down to count their bricks. Most people don't do that. They've never made a list of challenges that they have overcome, the goals that they've accomplished, the fears that they've conquered in the past, the failures that they've survived, the skills that they've mastered and acquired, the victories that they've earned, and so on and so forth. Because of the absence of that, when life demands confidence from them, they reach for proof, but the shelf looks empty because they haven't assembled it there. And that's not because they lack the victories. No, it's because they have never inventoried those victories. It may seem like I'm giving you something too much to unpack, but the final thing is that confidence is not the absence of fear. That's the main idea. Confidence is the presence of proof. That's what it is. Your proof is already in your past, but it only becomes confidence when you gather it together and use it as a tool. Tip number 2, build your confidence corner. Here is something really practical, something I've taught in executive rooms from Berlin to London to Lagos. You want to build what I call your confidence corner. How you will do this is take a blank page and write down every single victory you can remember. It doesn't matter how small or how large it is. It's irrelevant. We do some things in some of our live classes in Berlin. We run people through this exercise. And once they've completed the exercise, we now say, okay, nobody knows who wrote what. And then we have people close their eyes and we have someone read out what they find on a certain person's paper. And then we say for people to guess who that is. Many times they never guess correctly. because the things that these people have accomplished in their personal and professional lives, when it comes down to it, is very different than the people that their colleagues know or the people that they themselves believe themselves to be. Many times people just break down crying because the personal experience, if you will, the confidence corner of that person that we see on the paper beats 100 times over the actual person sitting down, because people don't inventory their successes, and then their confidence corner doesn't exist. So they have nothing to draw power or energy or confidence from anytime that they need it. Example from my own life. Believe it or not, I couldn't swim as an adult. I jumped into a pool and boom, I sank like a stone. People had to come and collect me from inside the pool so that I would not die. But today I'm not Michael Phelps, but I can swim. I ran a 10-kilometer race. I ran a half marathon. I ran a full marathon. Well, I froze once in front of an audience. And today I now teach globally how people will not go through the same problem. And I built businesses in 3 countries. I learned to ride a bicycle. I earned my university degrees because I stayed committed. I could have just dropped out. I learned a new language as an adult. So these are some of my bricks that I show myself that I can learn. These things add up for my self-confidence corner. Yours should be different from mine. Mine should be different from yours by default, because everybody is different and we've got different experiences, different aspirations. So that means that every single victory that you can remember, you add it on. Nothing small, nothing big. You just bring it all together. Once during the training in Hamburg about self-confidence, we're going to move to another section. So I asked, does anybody have any question? A participant said, Kunle, can I have some of your self-confidence? Yeah, everybody erupted in laughter. It's easy to assume that I just got this unbelievable self-confidence, but I built it. Self-confidence is self-made. It comes from your own bricks, your own story, not mine. It comes from your experience. So your job is to build your own self-confidence corner. And your confidence corner is where the bricks live. So tip number 3, how the brain builds self-confidence. I'll take you back to one of the biggest breakthroughs of my life. Some time ago, I went to a Tony Robbins event. This event was called Unleash the Power Within. 4 days of immersion. You're locked in. It was a significant investment for me. Time away from home and so on, and months of anticipation. But what I didn't know was that on day 1, we were going to walk on fire. Real fire. 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Burning cold. Bare feet, by the way. I mean, the heat is rising like a wall. My first reaction was, nope, not me. I can't do this. And this is exactly how many professionals feel before a presentation. So I'm thinking, I'll embarrass myself. Everyone else is more confident. I'll mess this up. I've never done something like this before. My mind is just going round and round. It's the same fear, but it's just a different fire. And when the moment comes for you to speak, your brain does what mine did for me. It scans your entire life looking for evidence. Have you done this before? Nope. Do you have proof that you can handle this? Nope. And when it can't find any evidence, it tries to protect you by pulling you away from the event. The problem is not the fire. And when it comes to speaking, the problem is not the audience. The problem is the lack of proof. So I stood there thinking, I have zero evidence in my past that I can walk on fire. It just isn't there. Never done it before. And just like people think as well, I have zero evidence that I can speak confidently in front of an audience. But then something shifted. I realized that if I walk away now, this will haunt me for the rest of my life. And the only difference between fear and confidence is proof that I haven't collected yet. So I made a decision. I said, Kunle, you cleared your calendar for this event. You made your way here. You made the huge investment of everything that you could to be here. Now you're here. You will do this. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to walk on this fire or I'm going to die on the fire, period. And when I finally made that decision, The decision was not to be fearless. I just decided I will walk on the fire, period. Then my brain suddenly began searching for evidence, unimaginable, right? I started to notice ordinary people walking across fire calmly, steadily, and they're coming out on the other side, smiling. My brain started to see that all of a sudden. And my mind shifted from impossible to, if they could just do that, why not me? That is the same shift that happens when you speak. You deliver your first sentence and then your brain goes, they didn't laugh at me. They understood. Well, I didn't die. Okay, then keep going, keep going. One step becomes proof. One line becomes evidence. One breath becomes stability. You just keep going. And as you keep going, speaking confidence grows exactly that way. First, there's the fear. Then you make a decision. Then you take action. Then you build evidence. Then you build confidence. There's no other way around this. This is how it works. Confidence is built when your brain gathers enough proof to trust you with the next sentence. And yes, by the way, I walked across the fire. As you would have guessed, I didn't burn. I'm here. But when I crossed the fire, I realized that the fire was never the real challenge. The story in my head was the challenge. Exactly like speaking in front of an audience. You don't eliminate fear. No, you overwhelm me with evidence. And that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, confidence in speaking comes from your physiology. What does that mean? When you're about to speak, especially in a setting where you're not familiar, your nervous system activates, cortisol level rises, your breathing shortens, your prefrontal cortex, that's your thinking brain, it becomes less accessible to you. Of course, because you're in a state of fear, if you will. Your voice gets thinner and your presence starts to shrink. And that signals to your mind, I'm not confident. Unfortunately, that's false information because what you're feeling is not lack of confidence. It's biology. It's a threat response. And here's the good news though. Biology can be trained. You can train your biology. You can train your body. Nerves can be retrained to understand things differently. Confidence can be conditioned. In psychology, we call this systematic desensitization. That's a big word for saying the more you expose yourself to something that scares you, gradually, safely, intentionally, the less your nervous system will react. Your body learns, I didn't die when I did that. Nothing bad happened. I can handle this. This is why the first speech is always terrifying. The 5th is easier. The 15th feels normal. And the 50th speech feels like a conversation. Why? Because you've been exposed to this over and over and over again. Not because you became an extrovert, but it's because your nervous system adapted. And the more you speak, the less your body panics, the more your brain trusts you. So confidence isn't built in your mind. It's built in your nervous system. And exposure rewires your biology. So tip number 5, understand the psychology of confidence. And here's a simple formula. Your confidence is proof and physiology. Proof gives you internal trust, that you internally trust yourself. You cognitively understand in your mind that this is what it is. And physiology gives you external stability. If you combine both, you speak with clarity, you speak with calm, and of course, command. And that's essential when you're presenting. Even if you feel nervous inside, these building blocks are there. If you think about how babies learn to walk, for example, they wobble, they fall down, and then they cry, then they cling, and then they get up. But they don't stop. Each tiny success becomes evidence. I can hold myself up. I didn't fall this time. I took one step. That's a win. The body learns balance. Their muscles learn coordination, and their nervous system learns not to panic because they are doing it over and over and over and over again. Then walking confidence was constructed by the individual. It wasn't inherited. So I said that to say speaking confidence works exactly the same way. Every time you speak, you gather proof. They listened. I survived. I can do this. Every time you speak, your nervous system adapts. again. Your breath steadies, your voice settles, your heart rate drops. You become a person who is in their normal zone when they're in front of an audience. And confidence becomes by and by a natural byproduct for you. This is what I see often in the presentation lab. Before, people who believe that they weren't confident speakers in the past, they begin speaking with authority, not because suddenly their personality changed. No, not because of that, but because their proof changed and their physiology changed as well. I said all that to say, confidence isn't a gift, my friend. It's a construction. If there's one thing you take away from today's video, let it be this. Your confidence is already inside you. You simply haven't gathered all your proof yet. And what you want to do is you want to gather that proof consistently, safely, week after week after week. And then, boom, you have something to build your confidence corner with. You're also invited to the Berlin Presentation Lab if you wanted to, or if you want to go deeper and, of course, rebuild your presence under pressure. I would invite you to join the Presentation License Program. It's a game changer. Again, confidence is construction, confidence is repetition, confidence is evidence, and confidence grows in motion. So I'll see you soon. Until then, collect your confidence and keep your flag flying.